Hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on transforming your enterprise collaboration with Cliq's Unified Communication as a Service or UCaaS. Let me give you a quick introduction about myself before we start. I'm Aishwarya, a product marketer from the Zoho Cliq team, and I will be walking you through today's webinar. Along with me, we have Pradeep, who is a tech expert from the Zoho Cliq team, and will be giving you an insight into how Zoho Cliq's UCaaS solution works, and he will also be answering your questions towards the end of the session. To start off with, let's start with the agenda and look into the topics that we will cover in today's webinar. So the first is the emergence of UCaaS, followed by what exactly UCaaS is, why it's important, what to look for in a provider, a small demonstration on Cliq's UCaaS solution, and a Q&A session at the end, as I had mentioned. Before I start on the components of the agenda, I just want to highlight that this webinar is going to be a guide to UCaaS and a little bit about Cliq in the end. So rather than focusing on the merits of Cliq through the video, which has been highlighted several times in our other webinars, we want to keep this webinar informative so you can get insights into what UCaaS is and why it's relevant to invest in a good provider. So let's start this webinar with taking a moment to see how far the concept of communication has come. From smoke signals and carrier pigeons to concepts like the telegraph, the Morse code, and the telephone, and eventually to the breakthrough technology we use today, I think it's safe to say that we've come pretty much a long way. So I'm going to take the next couple of minutes to take you through this emergence of UCaaS. And the reason for this is everything I'm going to talk about has led communication to what it is today. So UCaaS still uses a lot of this technology, but in a much more advanced way to ensure that the best possible outcome is for the users. So just to make sure that this doesn't turn into a history lesson, I'm going to keep each stage of this timeline brief. So the first stage is PBX. The earliest indicator of unified communication was private branch exchange or PBX, which was basically the crux of communication in the 60s. So PBX effectively connected employees within a company through limited phone lines, and at one point even required switchboard operators to facilitate communication. So this essentially meant that it was a higher investment on personnel, which was another expenditure for the companies using PBX. So this led to IVR. So IVR, or interactive voice response, was the next step in the unified communication journey. So IVR technology used pre-recorded messages and text-to-speech functions to help companies interact with customers. This was a massive step in unified communication since it eliminated the need for a live agent. It also reduced wait times and costs and provided companies the option to receive customer feedback. So, receiving customer feedback was a very important step because it helped improve business processes as well. After that, as you can see, was voicemail. So, voicemail was introduced in the end of the 90s, and companies started integrating this along with email into their existing devices. So this further eliminated the need for a live agent, and that essentially meant a less strain on the company. This was followed by SIP. So session initiated protocol, or SIP, was the next stage of internet protocol. So it's essentially a signaling protocol which enabled communication between IP networks for instant messaging, voice calls, and video call applications, which is pretty much still relevant in today's communication requirements. This was followed by VoIP, or Voice over Internet Protocol, which facilitates efficient voice communication between devices. So, this communication could be through audio or video, further developing unified communication. So, the introduction of this in the market essentially changed the way people communicate. And this gave rise to the era of cloud communication as we know it today. So by carrying out communication across devices, individuals could save massive amount of time and resources using the same solution but for different functions. This gave rise to instant messaging. So just from the name, we're pretty familiar with what instant messaging is, and it was essentially established in 1970s, but it gained prominence in the 90s and early 2000s. So this, as you know, it gave companies the benefit of real-time communication. which could help companies tackle issues that arose immediately without losing any time. And this laid the foundation for unified communication. So, unified communication with the advancements of VoIP, audio and video conferencing technology, instant messaging, with all this, unified communication was made much easier for enterprises. So, using on premise technology, companies opted for unified communication services, which came with the benefit of solid security and customization. This was because the technology was for the client company alone and it wasn't a shared service. So it could be customized to the needs and wants of the company. So this led to UCaaS as we know it. So the rise of cloud computing, along with the downsides of capital expenditure, rigidity of expansion, on-premise unified communication solution, all of this gave rise to UCaaS. So as companies began providing unified communication services through the cloud or UCaaS, they eliminated the need for like on-premise technology and accessed a lot of additional benefits. So this ushered enterprises into a whole new era of communication. So with UCaaS systems like Zoho Cliq coming into the picture. So I'm going to move on to explaining what exactly UCaaS is, and I think the best way to do it is to first break down the meaning of the terminology. So I'm going to split it into two parts to help explain it better. So the first part is unified communication. So this is an integration of various channels of communication in one interface. So we'll delve into what these channels are in the upcoming sections of the webinar. But in terms of the second portion, which is as a service, as I think people are pretty familiar with, but it's something that's being presented to a customer, either internal or external, as a service. So here the service is essentially being provided through the cloud. So all a customer would need just an active internet connection. So as some of you may know, when a company chooses a product or service, the expense to procure it is either a capital expense or an operating expense. So with an as a service model that's mentioned here, the expense to procure the service is an operating expense or a recurring expense, which makes it much more flexible in terms of keeping up with any fluctuations in the needs of the company. So with traditional unified communication system, which involve physical capital, UCaaS is essentially a step above. So to sum up what UCaaS is in terms of its meaning, it's essentially a cloud-delivered unified communication model for enterprise communication and not personal communication. It supports various communication functions, which I'm going to highlight in the next slide, and all of this is provided in one single interface. So anytime we talk about UCaaS, one important thing to highlight is Gartner's definition of it, because this is the most widely accepted one. So Gartner defines it as Unified Communications as a Service, or UCaaS, as a cloud-delivered unified communication model that supports 6 communication functions. So I'm going to get into each of these a little bit in detail so you can get an understanding of what makes up a unified communication system. So the first is enterprise telephony. So enterprise telephony is essentially a business telephone system that provides basic business features such as call hold, three-way calling, call transfer, call forwarding, etc. The second is meetings. So meetings is something that I think most people are familiar with because you use it on a day-to-day basis in terms of business communication. And this could be in the form of audio meetings, video meetings, or even web conferencing to keep people in the loop. The third is instant messaging and presence. So this feature of UCaaS enables users to share messages, files, etc. instantly with each other, and it also helps gauge their presence and availability with ease so that everybody is on the same page. The next one is unified messaging. So unified messaging has two dimensions to it. So the first is that it's an integration of different electronic messages into one single interface, which can be accessed across various channels. But the other dimension is also the unification of messages with employees as well as customers so that it's available on one single interface. The next one, which I think has been most relevant in the recent years because of the pandemic as we know it, is mobility. So mobility, the feature of mobility in UCaaS helps stay connected regardless of your location. So you could work from home or from a remote location and still be able to use the features of your communication tools from anywhere. So the last component of UCaaS is communications enabled business process. So this is essentially embedding automated communications into existing business processes, leveraging APIs or SDKs to deliver services such as outbound phone calls, SMS messages, or interactive voice response. To explain this as an example, when you have a meeting scheduled with your team, the automated reminder before the meeting is about to start would be a simple example of this particular component of UCaaS. A recent study conducted by WorkGuys, so it was found that 45% of the participants felt less productive when context switching, and 43% believed that switching between tasks could cause fatigue. So, as you can see, this report also found that if given the opportunity to work from home, 83% of the participants would take it. Integrated communication is the way forward, and with the rise in hybrid work or remote work, a solution that provides mobility is definitely highly beneficial. So, to sum up what UCaaS is, keeping all of this in mind, I'm going to break it down into a very simple example. So, using a UCaaS system, you could start a meeting with your team using your personal laptop at home, continue the meeting without stopping it using the phone while you drive to work, get to your workplace, take a client call at work, and send an alert to everyone in the team regarding your company's quarterly meeting. All of this in one interface seamlessly. So that basically sums up what UCaaS is about. So with that, maybe we can look into some other reasons why UCaaS is important. So the first is reduced costs. As mentioned before, a UCaaS system saves costs in several forms, like physical capital and personnel costs. The operating expenditure model is also a great cost saver since it can be adapted to the needs of the company. The second is collaboration. The integration of various channels that support seamless communication between individuals across geographic boundaries essentially promotes collaboration, which is a key driver for businesses regardless of industries. The third is flexibility. A UCaaS solution provides flexibility in two ways. So, the first, as mentioned before, is that it can be adapted to the needs of the company. For example, a startup grows at an erratic pace in terms of employee strength. It can customize its plan according to the growing size of the team rather than invest in a unified communication system that involves capital expenditure, which is essentially rigid with its growth. So it also gives users the flexibility of mobility, as I mentioned before, as they carry out their work from anywhere. The fourth is maintenance, which is just that the responsibility of maintenance of the solution lies with the service provider and not the company itself. So that's an added benefit. The fifth and sixth points, which are security and integrations, which both of which I'll look into further in the next section. But just to briefly explain it, a UCaaS provider takes the responsibility of privacy and security of data into their own hands, just to ensure that they are up to date on the latest protocols to make sure that they protect your data. And the last is integration. So again, we'll look into that in the next section. But a UCaaS solution can integrate with other third-party software to facilitate communication across various functions. So this brings us to a very important question, which I think is on everyone's mind, is that who is UCaaS for? So the answer for this is very simple. It's a useful tool for any organization, as it's evident that communication is an essential part of literally any business, be it external or internal. Making this communication seamless is a goal for any company. So, investing in a good UCaaS solution helps improve business processes as well as improve customer success. So, to invest in a good UCaaS solution, it's also important to understand what to look for when you're choosing one. So, the first and perhaps the most important factor to look at is security and privacy. So, in an age of digital transformation, I think protecting your data is very crucial. So, UCaaS providers should be able to meet your data privacy needs. So, keeping that in mind, I'm just going to delve into some pointers to look out for in terms of data privacy and security. So, the first is encryption. I think this word has been used a lot and people are pretty familiar with it given personal messaging apps as well. But encryption is for messages and voice data, both in transmission and at rest, just to ensure that there are no hacks or leaks that would risk your company's data. The second is role based security. So, this feature essentially restricts access and control to your data based on the employee's role and responsibility. So, using this consent to access data and revoke access instantly ensures that your sensitive information doesn't spread easily and it's accessible on a need to know basis and not to everyone. The third is strong password policy. So when your provider sets strong password policies for the company, it helps curb security risks to a great extent. So password policies are essentially conditions your provider sets that employees must adhere to when they're developing their passwords. So keeping these conditions strict ensures that all your employees follow a consistent process when selecting a strong password. So this in turn assures that third parties cannot access your company's data. The next point is data privacy for integrations. So, consent based data access for third party extensions and integrations helps you take complete control of what extension requires access to and how the data is utilized. So, you have complete control. The last point I think is a factor in itself, so I'm going to get into it a little more, is compliance. So, regarding data privacy, there are standard guidelines and legislations to protect the company and personal data. So, a UCaaS provider's compliance with these guidelines is crucial and certifies that your communication remains secure. So, one such necessary regulation, which I think most people are familiar with, is GDPR, or the General Data Protection Regulation. So, the GDPR is a EU protection and privacy regulation that enforces strict handling and protection of EU residents' data. So, adherence to this and other guidelines is crucial for your provider to protect your data effectively. So these are some other factors that I'm going to highlight. So the first is scalability. So good technology grows with a company. So companies need to be able to predict this growth rate and should be prepared with technology that can keep up. A UCaaS solution should adapt to this company's growth rate without putting strain on the IT department. For example, again with a startup, suppose a startup has just acquired its second round of funding and plans to expand its team. So the company's UCaaS solution should be able to accommodate this influx of new employees in minutes without putting pressure on the team. The next is credibility. So when considering a UCaaS provider, a company that is there to stay in the market adds excellent value to the company. So a provider known to have strong stance on privacy and security and reliable in terms of service delivery and data protection is ideal. So this credibility that I mentioned is built on years of positive customer interaction and ensures that you will experience close to no downtime when working with the provider. That brings us to cutting edge offerings. So, evaluating whether your UCaaS provider keeps up with market trends and spends time on research and development is extremely critical. So, this dedication results in more useful features that make your processes as efficient as possible. So, the importance of staying ahead of the curve is especially relevant now when hybrid work models are more prevalent. The next and important point is integrations. So, an effective UCaaS solution should allow you to integrate with any required third party software. So, this ensures that your chosen solution blends seamlessly into your company's existing ecosystem. The provider should also have the necessary resources to support your team in implementing your required integrations. The last, and I think an important factor that people look for is customer support. So when this is an important consideration when picking a provider because you have to gauge whether they will be available to you as a customer. So their availability to offer timely support and address customer concerns is crucial. So proper support will help you keep your business process running smoothly. So, to summarize the factors to look for in a UCaaS provider, I think it's evident that these are key considerations when looking for them. Fortunately, Cliq is a solution that checks all these boxes. Delving into the specifics of Cliq as a UCaaS solution, these are some of Cliq's offerings mentioned here. So, keeping that in mind, we will now have Pradeep taking you through Cliq as a UCaaS solution a little more in detail. Yeah.
I would also like to share a couple of salient highlights of UCaaS. the UCaaS elements that Cliq offers, and in fact, how it really unifies various of my day-to-day activities in Cliq. So first things first, let me share over my screen. And so first things first, I have the entire organization. I'll be explaining about a couple of features that Cliq holds in the form of UCaaS, and a few 6 elements to be precise, that also reflect my day-to-day work activity through Zoho Cliq. And the first thing that I would like to disclose here is about the user directory search. All the people in my company get listed here in this particular interface in the form of an org module that is on the left menu of Cliq. And I'll be able to seamlessly search the people who are a part of my department, the people who are directly reporting to me, and also people from other department, and straight away initiate a conversation with them. So now, if I also need to search for, say, for instance, a content marketer in my company, I'll be able to search for them, a pre-sales engineer. The search is highly seamless and their presence is unified within this particular interface. Coming next is the way I have a scenario where I need to have different teams involved into a discussion. Say, getting connected with cross-functional teams for discussions or aspects related to any business context is highly seamless. Their presence, whom I refer to my colleagues from other departments and teams, can be found on the global search bar and Cliq. So in this scenario, I'm searching out for an SEO discussion, and also the channels get listed in the interface, and I also can search on different aspects for different contexts in my own company. I click on continue and I straight away pitch into the conversation in this interface. Searching people from different departments is one thing that I've shown a while ago. Searching departments too is possible within Zoho Cliq. So the search bar on top helps me search my HR department and also the content marketing department in this scenario, and also people from sales. So the next thing is about the meetings that I initiate with my internal and external colleagues. So all the events are orchestrated in my calendar, and all the events are displayed within the interface in this way that I'm showing you right now. The events that are scheduled for the day are displayed again in the remote work dashboard. And coming to the calendar, the calendar integration that gets displayed in the Zoho Cliq's left menu also lists out the team calendars that I have within our company. So these events are again logged in the history section, and every recording or every interaction or every note or every annotation that I have done within the particular meeting get recorded here. Whenever I start a quick meeting, might it be with an internal or external person, I use the Meet Now option. I start an audio meeting. And in this particular interface, I have a great capability of recording it right away. And one added benefit or one salient element that has been a fascinating use case of time is that we've been using Zoho Cliq to get connected with our prospects, leads, or people who are interested to get a virtual demonstration of the product. So I start a quick meeting. I also get a link that can be copied and shared to an external set of audience. And not only that, I can invite users to this particular meeting itself. Might it be internal or external? I enter the end user's email address, I select it and click on invite, which in fact generates an invite to the end user. The end user will be receiving an email. And if the end user, he or she is using a calendar within their system, it simultaneously creates an event within their calendar, right? And I can also stream this particular meeting not only to my own company or not only to my own team, but also to an external set of audience. The end user isn't supposed to sign up for a service or download a widget or an installer to join the session. All they need to do is to accept the invitation, they get redirected to a browser, and the session gets started right away. I can initiate a conversation right away with the end user. And I can also see the people who are hosting the session, who are made as co-trainers within this session. And one productive option or I mean, like the winner of this interface is like the notebook integration that we have in this interface. I quickly take notes and I have them displayed again within the uh, history section of the call logs that I've showed you earlier a while ago. So when it comes to business process and business process and communication involved into a single medium of communication like Zoho Cliq, you need to make sure that your conversations are orchestrated or listed in the best way possible. I have a plethora of discussions that I initiate or I take part in my company as a part and parcel of my job role. And one thing that I do is I have them listed under different folders in my left menu, followed by ensuring that I quickly take notes about uh, the interactions that I had, and uh, managing these notes or penning down or like texting down my ideas has been a real boon for me all of these days, and managing my tasks within Zoho Cliq. So not only communicating about the feature requests that we receive from customers, we also make sure that we create a task about a request that's been received to us, and we collaborate with the developer. We make sure that the tasks that we've created so far are managed within Click. The open tasks, the overdue, and the overdue tasks, the tasks that are set for today, and so on. So the intent of me disclosing this particular module is to let you know that I need not switch between multiple tabs just to make sure that I get this minimal information. So managing those tasks is so seamless and efficient in Click, and it has been saving a lot of time for me in person. And now, when it comes to customer support, our team is like uh, relied on our own customer ticketing tool. And we have a desk bot, which is an extension of it. And this desk bot is supposed to like post different details about different set of tickets, their priority, the status of a ticket, the person whom it is assigned to, and so on, and the department which is currently taking care of it. On the parallelly, we have a Zoho CRM extension as well, which is supposed to like share us the deal information right away. And when we communicate about any of these, might it be about a ticket or might it be about a deal that we've booked or that a deal that we've won so far, we are also supposed to add a note to this particular deal, right? So message actions in Zoho Click come into force in this scenario. And I simply click on a message, which is supposed to be added as a note in a CRM deal. I go to the message action, I select this particular option, I select the particular module, I name the deal, and I straight away set a note title. The note content, as you see, is smartly copied into this interface. And in case of any addition to this particular thing, I can do that and I can click on add note. So these are some real cool features. And I mean, like, uh, that have been saving a lot of time for us. I also get options to like post an announcement over here that a note has been added to this CRM deal. And again, coming back to the desk bot, ending a day in a support team is about knowing the number of open tickets, overdue tickets, and so on. So the desk bot and the extension over here is kind enough to like keep me notified about all of these details in a bird's eye view. So that's one thing. Now, coming to another very interesting aspect is the enterprise telephony. And here we have a click telephone system. So let me unveil another module that's almost on the verge of its release, and is one of its kind, the click phone system. Off late in Zoho, we have been attending our hotline calls, and our telephone and voice support is handled within Click itself. As you see here, irrespective of any interaction that I have within Click, I have been receiving uh, a call pop up where my IVR or inbound call is sharing a notification within Zoho Click itself. Now, I attend the call and the etiquette rolls away right from there. The call gets recorded right away. I take notes about the call. The apps related to this get displayed. I get to check the history of this call. And also, I'll be able to schedule this call again with the same user. I hit the agenda, transferring calls, and every possible aspect that a particular customer support representative must adhere to can be done within this particular widget itself. And this is really placed and really blended well within the interface. It isn't going to interlude into uh, any other feature that you're using within Click itself, and it's placed really well. So after entering this, uh, the next thing that we do is like we usually check our dashboard. The entire support queue dashboard is displayed within Click itself. I get to see the number of calls initiated in a day, the number of voicemails we've got, a quick view of instant recordings, and so on. So any business that has a contact center or a telephone support system can now seamlessly have this fit into a UCaaS medium, and that too into Click. So the quick actions menu that I'm showcasing you right now has come up with another two options where I can quickly make an outbound call, and that too within Click itself. I click on the phone call button, I enter the name of the country, I set up the number, and I'm all set to initiate an outbound call within Click itself. So that's about it. And summing this up, and upon discussing like about various workday functions that have been unified in one interface, one other thing that I wish to like add here is about the intuitiveness this particular interface has. It isn't overwhelming, or it isn't like clustered with various options. It is highly clutter free and even customizable too. Let me tell you why. Not all the departments or all the teams, even in my company or any other company, probably to that matter, shall be using all of these features. And we, as a provider, we need to make sure that these options are like not enforced over particular teams which aren't into using a telephony system and so on. So our settings section in Zoho Cliq, in fact, helps us modify or optimize the way these options get displayed in the left menu. Say for here, I have a consolidated view and categorized view, and I get an option to drag and drop the kind of functionalities that I need within this interface. So I might not need a phone system, or I don't want to see the people in my entire organization. I quickly make sure that those are removed within the interface. And so in such cases, the left menu and Click can be configured and set according to the end user's choice, which ultimately makes the user interface very light. And in addition to this, I would also like to share upon another thing. When it comes to unifying these many elements or these many workday items that I have or that I perform through in a day, it's also equally important to make sure that my status is synced across different apps, or my status is known to the people who work with me or to the people who are about to get connected to me. So the unified status ensures that I customize the way my status gets displayed or gets synced with other apps. So even if I'm on Zoho voice call and so on, uh, I ensure that this is turned on, and the moment I complete the call, I'm all set to like have my status synced and ensure that my end users know that I am on a call and I'm not supposed to be disturbed in this while, right? So that's about it. And so Click holding all of these salient features and UCaaS elements has substantially helped us in a drastic reduce of switching between tabs just to have or find a minimal amount of information that needs to be fetched to complete a work or a task item. So in fact, I do not mind in disclosing a personal fact that this real boon has almost nullified the context switching or tab switching in all of the cases that I've mentioned above. And a great thank you for everyone who took part in this session.
Okay, so thank you so much, Pradeep, for that
Anytime.
insightful demonstration.
Anytime.
I think and answering the questions as well. So I'm sure everyone has a much better understanding of what UCaaS is all about now. So with that, we come to the end of today's webinar. I hope it was an informative session. Again, I'd like to say that you will receive the recording via your email. We'll also be releasing an ebook soon about UCaaS specifically, which we'll be sharing with you via mail. This will give you an insight into everything UCaaS that I'd mentioned now. So thank you for your time. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.